Alright, so I finished the 49ers, and it's a Time Life series. This was printed in 1976. I got this book from Fort Bragg, right in front of the library, and it did come like this. It came with no coverings, and there was the whole series, like the 20 books, with no covers, sitting on a bench in front of the library. I leafed through the choices. I could have taken more, but I only have so much room in my car. I only took this. You do save some room by taking them covers off. Okay, they are pretty thick, but I got it. I mean, the content, there's no missing pages. The content's still the same, just without the cover. And it goes through everything from the beginning, before the gold rush, talking even about the occupation of California with Spanish, then the Mexicans defeating the Spanish somehow. I don't know how that happens. The Mexicans winning a war, and then Americans defeating the Mexicans. And there were rumors about gold before the Mexican War in 1848, okay, but, oops, they tell a genuine story of how the gold was originally discovered, and the primary location is at Sutter's Mill, which is east of Sacramento, just like a little southeast, all up in the mountains, all along the mountains. People just first discovered the gold flakes at the mill, and then it was one of the employees, and then the rumor started to spread from there. In the early parts, it was January of 1849. They really go into detail with this, and I don't need to go into detail. Just encourage you to read the book, because the stories are really cool. Individual stories about the gold miners. You learn about gold. All right, how the fake gold will flash, will crash, will flake. The fake gold will crumble if you crush it, whereas the real gold will just pound into a different shape. All right, real gold holds its shape a lot better than fake gold. Okay, fake gold shatters easier. So, and there's that. All right, so you learn about the different processes, just the stories, the outlaws, which is interesting. How the claims were working. Just there were people originally, that when it started out, probably in the first few months only, how people were minding each other's claims, but then it just got more desperate and more desperate towards the end. Probably about 1853 is when the rush pretty much really took a turn. Lots of people, just towns that had villages that only had 20 people, just exploded to thousands within a few months. Word got back to the east coast pretty quickly. There was one advertisement that they pointed out in this book that really showed how word got back to the east. They really go into great detail of it. Lots of pictures, okay, lots of great pictures. They took a picture of that ad too, because it's a historic relevance. It's not this one. Okay, little story there. I wish I could just scan the whole book and just put it in video, but it was written in 1972, so it's under copyright. There's a lot to talk about. It's really amazing. There were some slaves that were brought over from southern miners, and they all struck it rich. I don't know the details of that. It just said slaves were brought over. They talked about equality, which it was like 99% men over there. Okay, they talk about San Francisco and its relevance. San Francisco is very far away. okay, like 300, 400 miles from the digging site. But that was a major port for people who shipped over from the East Coast. They rounded the South America tip. That was a like 8-month journey. I couldn't imagine sitting on a ship for so long. Some people chose overland. I think I would have chose overland had I done something like that, had word spread. But then I would have been sitting in doubt over this phenomena too, like a lot of people were. You know, a lot of people immediately in the area abandoned their work and were captivated by gold fever. It's tangible. Having gold fever, like you can have gold in your hands, and it's a very attractive metal to hold. So a lot of people had gold fever, but a lot of people also were able to resist. Okay, some Mormons, for example, were able to resist. There are some Mormons that did go over and get gold, but then went back and brought it back to the Salt Lake, I guess, something like that. But yeah, people were actually picking up gold right on the ground at first, and the largest nugget found was 160 pounds. So there's a really an amazing amount of detail. Quartz has gold. They called the gold diggers Argonauts. There was a lot of reference to Argonauts, and Argo was like, I think, some kind of periodic table name for the Argo or something for gold, because gold is its own element. Let's see, gold maps. Yeah, they were drawing maps. They used brimstone for something. That's something that I'd be more curious about. There's used to be talk about brimstone quite a bit back in those days, but you don't hear about brimstone today so much. Some guys got land scurvy. I thought that was interesting, because food was very expensive for the gold diggers. I found it interesting. They said every so often for some camps, a Mexican kid would drive a cow into the gold field, and you know, the gold diggers would pay them in gold for whatever amount they felt reasonable. So pay for the cow by weight, pound for pound, 100 pounds of gold for 100 pounds of cow or something. The prices were just incredible. Some people made pretty good money not even digging for gold, just supporting the gold diggers' lifestyle, because the gold diggers had nothing. They stopped in the ports, the ones who stopped in the ports of San Francisco, and they just left their ship and ran for the fields. And we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people who left their ships behind, and so the port was actually full of just abandoned ships. And somebody painted a picture, and you see it in the book. There's a lot of depictions of the gold diggers and stuff. Mark Twain was referenced. I expected him to be, because he did write his book Roughing It, which is free to download on Kindle. But yeah, the gold camps came and went. It's in an area I've never been in. I've been in San Francisco, and I can imagine some of the things that are going on throughout the 1850s. They had their own vigilante groups because the law enforcement failed them, just like today. Okay, there was an Australian bandit gang. Back then, they were stealing things, and there were arsonists. The city burnt down a few times, and the Australian gangs controlled Telegraph Hill, which, if you type Telegraph Hill, San Francisco, you see where that is. I was up there. I mean, it's different. They had a picture in the book somewhere of Telegraph Hill, and it's just grassland with a shack on top. But today it's a lot different. There's a big tower up there. Yeah, great book. Great book. You learn about the actual gold, and I'll tell you what, I was more motivated to read this, I actually finished this. I started reading this 2 months ago. Invest Like Warren Buffett, you know, Timing the Market. And I'm finished with it. I got to do a review on it. But I started this like a month later. You know, I found this book a month later. But I actually finished this well before this book, just because treasure hunting is a lot more exciting than timing the market.